Do you ever dive into your mix, you start using compression, but then realize you don't actually know what to do with your attack and release functions on your compressor? Well, today we're going to be answering that question of how to use the various styles of compression in order to achieve a specific goal rather than just randomly trying to move knobs and wait for it to sound good. Make sure that you stick around to watch the rest of the video on how to hear the various styles of compression and what they do for your mix. Just to introduce myself, my name is Tyson. I'm a mastering engineer at dinosaurdogstudio.com. Before we dive into the video, if you want to learn or have a quick reference guide to the various styles of compression that I will be using in this video, then there's a link in the description that you can pick up the free guide for free. It's a free guide you can get in the description of this video. There's also an EQ guide that comes along with that just because it's easy to package them as a deal. Anyway, make sure you're picking up both of those. Without any further ado, let's dive straight into the content, various styles of compression, how to set them up, and how to listen for them. This will help you not only as a listening exercise when you're listening to records, but also how to even utilize these various styles of compression, making decisions on what type of compression you actually want for your various tracks instead of just throwing on compressors and hoping you're correct. I'm also going to be fairly extreme in my compression just so that it makes it really obvious what I'm doing. In reality, I probably wouldn't compress this much on, for example, a drum bus, but just for the sake of examples and for you to be able to hear clearly what I'm looking at, even on maybe not ideal listening environments, we're going to be extreme. So let's compress some drums. So the first one we're going to be dialing in is our smooth or consistent type compression. This is going to be a very fast attack and slow release. The goal of this is to make everything super consistent, but we're not going to be impacting the balance between the transients and the tails of our track. The first thing I'm going to dial in is my threshold, and then I'm going to be adjusting my attack and release. Okay, so this style of compression, again, fast attack, slower release. My release is actually faster than I would normally put it for normal other tracks, but because these drums are fairly quick in terms of the space between each kick and snare, I'm setting it a little bit faster just because I don't want to compress too much on the following kick or snare hit inside of the beat. The point of this compression is to capture just the biggest notes and turn them down. That's it. Theoretically, if I had a more dynamic drums here, I would actually have, most of the time, is not compressing at all and is only capturing those louder hits that are coming through. So because this is already a pretty consistent track already, probably wouldn't even use this type of compression, but just for the sake of the example, this is how you set up a smooth or consistent type compression. Let's move on to punchy type compression. Punchy type compression has a slower attack and slower release. So it's similar that we're still going to be squishing down that tail, but instead of squishing down the transient as well, we're going to be leaving that alone. So then we have a higher impact on the transient and we're squishing down the tail to make a bigger punch, essentially, or bigger impact of each note. In order to listen to this, make sure you're listening for the kick and the snare in comparison to the cymbals, because the cymbals are going to be basically turned down and the kick and the snare are going to be remain exactly where they're at. And that's the goal of punchy type compression. I'm gonna A-B this for you really quick, and make sure you're listening to the kick and the snare, and they remain very, very consistent. But the cymbals, they get turned down when I have the compression enabled. So make sure you're listening for that. So moving on from punchy to thick type compression. So thickness type compression is basically the exact opposite of punchy type compression. The thickness type compression is meant to capture transients and squish them down and then leave tails alone. In this scenario, we're gonna be killing our snare and kick, essentially leaving our cymbals alone. So we're gonna have a very fast attack, fast release. We're just gonna be capturing the transients and squishing them down. So that is thickness type compression. Let's move on to groovy type compression. So this is the last type of compression. As you've probably picked up by now, we're just going through the various stages of fast versus slow release and attack. And so our last one is groovy, which is going to be a slow attack, but fast release. We're not really going to be focused on the transient or the tail at all. Really, it's just to enhance dynamics that already exist in the track. Groovy type compression will really bring things to life that are otherwise kind of stale inside of your mix. This is actually going to be increasing dynamics and actually hurt your headroom that you have in your mix. So be careful with this type of compression. While it can breathe new life into tracks that are otherwise dead, it can cause issues with headroom if that's a concern for what you're dealing with in your mix. I'm gonna quickly gain stage all of these, and then we'll be able to A/B them right next to each other. Now that I've gain staged all of these really quick for you, we're gonna run through them and A/B them side by side. that is all of the 4 different styles of compression on the same track. Hopefully you're able to hear some of those differences. I hope this was helpful for you in understanding the different styles of compression, how to dial them in, and also how to listen to them. Also, if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel as I release videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to help you get more professional mixes. Thanks for watching and have a great week.